Anyway, she was with her mother, and I was alone at the farm. And I brought a large library with me from the States. It was an extensive library, and I had read most of the books two or three times. And I was looking for something to read again in her absence, and there was one book there I hadn't read, and it was a copy of Yusuf Ali's translation of the Quran. So I picked it up and I said, "Okay, Satan, I'm going to find you." And I said, I was determined to find how it was that Satan had misguided millions, billions of people these last 1400 years or so. And so I opened up the book and I opened it up to the first prayer. And then I was shocked. I said, "My God, that's the most perfect prayer I've ever read." You see? And I said, "Boy, Iblis is really smart." So
Uh,
I continued reading, and it I couldn't put the book down. I read night and day for 3 days. Then I finally closed the book, and I went immediately to the Bible, to the almost the last page in the Bible, to Revelations, Book of Revelations, chapter 22. And there, St. John the Revelator is having a conversation with a messenger that some people considered to be an angel, others considered to be Jesus. Many, I think the theologians in the Christian congregations are maybe half, split half and half. It was an angel or it was Jesus. In any case, angel means messenger, and a messenger can be a prophet. We all know that. Most Christians don't know that, but that's they don't take their faith seriously enough to really study it, like most Muslims, you see, and that's a big problem because Jibril said to the prophet, the first word was read, was it not? Of course it was. You can't become educated if all you do is recite. Recitation is insufficient. You have to read. And
mhm.
I can expound on that later. In any case, in this conversation that John is having with Jesus after all these wondrous visions that he had, he then is so astounded and so moved, he kneels down and to worship this messenger. And the response from the messenger, it's right there in this book, it's right there in the New Testament, is the messenger says, "Do it not. I am a man like you from the tribe of Judah. Worship God alone." There it was, right there. Now, I had read that many times, but I never understood it
Mhm.
until after reading the Quran. So I closed the book, and there it was after midnight, and in the privacy of my little living room in that farmhouse up in the mountains of Borneo, I confessed a Shahada to the angels, to the jinn, and whatever animals were listening. You see, and La ilaha illallah, ashadu ala Muhammadan Rasulullah.
Allahu
Alhamdulillah.
Akbar.
And I became a Muslim. Nobody preached to me. Now, the background to that is the fact that I had studied the scriptures and I had studied the parascriptural literature extensively. In between all of my work as a doctor and whatever else, I was always reading. That's why they called me Doc. As when I was in the army, they called me Doc because I was the only one with an open book almost everywhere you went, everywhere, every time you saw me, I was reading. I knew 40, 50 years ago that the vaccines were a scam and medically unsound. I was the first one in the army to refuse the swine flu vaccine. They arrested me for it. So, as a background of extensive reading, uh, with a background of extensive reading, when I read the Quran, and then I came to this passage there, I mean, there were a couple of passages I came across and I just wept. But I came across one passage that essentially said, "We have given the Quran as a mercy and as a blessing, and to complete what came before." Well, I'm here to tell you that I read that book knowing what came before. And not only knowing the scriptures or the parascriptural literature, but also the history. I had already been involved in the occult. I had been a Freemason. I had been a member of an occult organization called the Anthroposophical Organization, founded by Rudolf Steiner. I had been trained as an initiate. I had been trained to leave my body consciously and do astral travel. I knew all of this stuff, and I knew the occult history when I read the Quran. So when I read the Quran, and it talks about the enemies of mankind and these wicked men in high places planted by Allah in all of the cities, I knew who they were. It was not an abstract idea for me. It wasn't something that was just printed words on a paper. I had met them. I had rubbed shoulders with them over the years. Okay. And I knew the way in which they manipulated people, which is one of the reasons I left the States and swore I'd never go back. So, in the privacy of my living room, I became a Muslim. Now, within a day or two, my wife came to get some clothes because she was feeling better and she wanted to get back into some of her regular clothing. So she came to pick them up before going back to her mother's because at the time the period wasn't up. And I said, I have something to tell you. I've become a Muslim. And of course, she's absolutely shocked. No, and she was speechless. She really couldn't respond to me. And she gathered her clothes and she said, I have to go. And out the door she went. Next day she came back with her an aunt and an uncle and two brothers. Okay. And they told me the one brother who had the best English, he spoke for all of them. And he said, I understand you've become a Muslim. And I said, yes, I can explain what's happened. He said, we don't want an explanation. We want you gone. It's just like that. Now, I had invested all of my life savings and whatever cash and whatnot in this place. And I was a stranger in a strange land. I left my job in Australia because was becoming too old to travel back and forth like that and live out of a suitcase. It was making me sick. And my wife had become sick, and I didn't want to entrust her to the surgeons in the Malay medical system because most of them are incompetent. Not all, but most of them are. And they think otherwise, but this is a problem with human denial. So, and the medical education system, which they've copied from the West. See, they've made partners with the Jews and the Christians, and they're jumping right into the lizard's hole, this exactly like this the Prophet said.